Welcome to the last of our series on live streaming. I should say the last in June. We will be revisiting live streaming once again in July for a full recap because there have been so many great things that have come up throughout these conversations, and we realized we need to do another one. One where we can have Jim Perro do a demo of, what is it? Restreaming? No,
Streamlabs
something.
OBS. Yeah.
Thank you. Streamlabs OBS, and Hip will do some other things. Hodge, Mr. Mike Hodge, and hopefully John Kidwell can share a little more about what they're doing in Houston. So that's coming up in July, so stay tuned. We'll work on scheduling that in the next week or so. But today, Hip is going to kind of do a catch-all from questions that have been asked in past sessions, some new information he has to share, and a bit about lighting. So Hip, I will pass the baton, the proverbial baton, to you, and then I'll go ahead and make you presenter ASAP.
Sweet. And yeah, I think I'm going to reserve some time for Q&A at the end for Mike and I to answer anything that you guys might have questions about from what we've learned. But I do want to talk a lot about what it looks like to do some, hold on, let me switch screens here. But what a live streaming studio would look like in a branch, like if you wanted to set one up. And so I do want to talk about lighting and just give some, because lighting is like its own bear of information, and it's good to have some background on that. I'm closing like 1,000.
Which is why Hip looks like he's working in a discotheque with that should have its own Twitter account.
That's totally right. Okay, I almost am ready here with my screen. Okay, there we go. Let's share here. Are you seeing a screen and a presentation?
Yes.
All right, so yeah, welcome to live streaming session number 3. We're opening our branches like you guys, and now where do we take our live streaming experience? That's kind of what I want to talk about here. Were the last 3 months all for rot? Are we going to get into the squirrel mindset and leave streaming behind? I hope not. How do we make streaming simple and accessible for our trainers? How do we set up a studio that they can just hit a switch and start going? So in the Twin Cities, we are in the process of evaluating space, kind of like how Houston has done and Brandywine, on how to build our own live streaming studio. So there's a lot to talk about today and a lot of things to share. But as you know, I'll just introduce myself again. I'm Nathan Hippenmeyer. Thank you again for joining me on this fun live streaming journey. Mike, I don't have you on here. I'm sorry, but you're not doing an official presentation. You'll be doing the Q&A with me at the end. So, and plus, I just need more screen time. Today, we're going to discuss a few things, but one, lighting philosophy, real simple, lighting techniques, basic 3-point lighting, and how you can do that in a studio setting. And then I'm also going to talk about 3 examples of lighting to see what lights they used and how they used them, and then lights you can pick up yourself to mount into a fitness studio you already have. And then, of course, we will land the plane after talking about some tips for building that studio and Q&A at the end. We also have some goodies at the end for you all to share. So I'll send those in a Dropbox link during the Q&A. But I want to start off with this quote because when we speak about a studio setup, yes, we are talking about cameras. Yes, we're talking about computers, but we're also talking about lighting. Filmmakers paint with light. Light is a physical substance, and your ability to understand it while you are using it will enhance everything you do, your live streaming, your photography, your video, and your interior decorating aspirations. But don't be afraid to use lights. Try things out. It's one of those things where it's a presentation thing, and how you present yourself matters. You are instantly going to either attract or repel people to your video. And so think of who you are selling to with your looks. And I know looks matter because I presented to our CEO, Glenn Gunderson, and our senior leadership team this week. And the first thing he said to me was, looks like Nathan and I are the only 2 people who need haircuts. And so that was did not hurt me at all. And I just cried in the shower for 4 hours and listened to Enya. But if you were to look at my office right now with all the lights on, it would be a very bland room. It would just, it's not anything that's going to pop out or be special to look at. I love this quote. I'm not going to just show quotes this whole time. It has no context to lighting, by the way. This is a jeweler. But I like the sentiment here. How can you add personality to your lighting setup speaking to your Y experience visually. The more of you and your Y experience that you can put into the lighting, the better. So it's okay if you repel people too. That's not only okay, but it's exactly what you want. You don't want to lose viewers, but you want to attract the people that are attracted to our brand, and you want them to stick with you, the loyalists. That's the great thing about live streaming. These are the hyper-targeted viewers. So you want those engaged viewers. One of my college professors in New York, back when I did film acting, he said, you either want to be really good or really bad. The worst thing you can be is boring, which is why Nicolas Cage has a career. So that's, but the sentiment makes sense, right? You want to be interesting. So do something well, give some pop, give some flair. So what is good lighting? Lighting has so many infinite permutations and variations. You could point a light in a certain direction, you could add a gel, you could do all sorts of things. So there's no one right way to light a scene or a studio. And as a result, there's no chance that I can make a simple list of proper lighting techniques and it's all over. But that's the wrong question. We shouldn't be asking what is good lighting. We should be asking, what mood are we trying to achieve? What is it that we expect of our lighting to do for us as we're streaming? So beginning this way, we have a better chance of evaluating if it's working or not. There's some elements of lighting, and we're not going to walk through all of these, but these are some choices you can make to change how your look is, to make a statement about what your stream is going to look like, to make it unique, to make it stand out. And what we're really trying to do is make a great experience for our viewers. So what mood are you going for? How are you separating your subject from the background? Is the light hard? Is it soft? I'm going to show real quick just basic 3-point lighting. This is a technique for lighting a subject. And I'm going to show how fitness studios do this, because this is a portrait, right? This isn't a moving subject, so it is a little different how studios do it. And I have looked everywhere, and I have not found a studio fitness streaming guide for how to do this. So I think it's going to be really helpful to look at these examples in a little bit. But the main idea, this is going to come as a huge surprise to you, but 3-point lighting has 3 main components. You have your key light, you have your backlight, also known as a rim or a hair light, and then you have your fill. The key light is that main light, which is represented by this photo in the center. And if nothing else, you need your key light to light the subject. It's your most powerful, bright light. And then you have your backlight, or the rim light, which is shown on this left picture. And the purpose of the backlight is to create some separation, to make a 2-dimensional image feel 3-dimensional. So you add some depth into the shot. It just makes it a more appealing image. And then you have your fill light, which is usually the opposite of the key light. And the fill light is to control the depth of the shadow. So like, how contrasted are the shadows that are casted? So if you look in that center photo, he has a really dark neck. The rim light is actually providing some fill. And he actually did another shot here where he added a little more fill and it lit up his very nice neck. And so you kind of get an idea of how you can play with shadows. If he fully lit up those shadows, he would look like he had no separation between his face and his neck, which would look pretty horrible. Okay, so when you're doing lights for your studio, remember that you don't want to just bring in some lights, turn them on, and point them at your subject, and then leave all the lights on in your room and the windows open to your fitness studio, because what's going to happen is your lights are going to get drowned out by the sun, and you never want to compete with the sun. The sun will always win. And so if you're on a film set, you'll see that they do everything in their power to eliminate every light source that is not logically, emotionally, philosophically, and psychologically supposed to be there. They want to have total control. And so I'm going to use my office as an example with a bunch of dumb photos of me. So one, here's me. My windows are open. I have no light on. I have no tungsten light or anything. No light bulbs. Just a ring light that's above my webcam. And then the windows are open. Okay, now I turned on a light in the back of my room. It's just a practical light that's in the room. You see a little yellow tinge in the corner. Okay, now I'm going to turn off all the lights and just keep my ring light on. Now it's a little more interesting. I'm being highlighted. I'm separated from the background, but I want to make it prettier. So I add, some lights, and it makes me pop and stay, ahead of the shot. I'm still the focus, but it adds some energy into the shot. Now, you can't do this in the same way for a fitness studio, but you get the idea. And all these lights make up for my lack of personality. So here's some key light options for you to highlight, if you're going to buy one light, like get one of these. There's several options depending on the look you're going for. Spotlights and par lights are very harsh. They're directional lights. You're going to get some shadows on your trainers. They're great for highlighting a trainer that maybe isn't moving a ton, but needs to stand out from the background. Fluorescent lights in the center here. Now, KinoFlow is a brand of fluorescent lights. Fluorescent lights are these beautiful, soft lights. They're diffused more, so the light, like when you have a hard light, it's like a beam shooting at someone's face. So if like your nose is turned a little bit, your nose is going to cast a shadow. A soft light, it diffuses all those electronic particles, and it softens, it wraps around a subject more, and it looks more natural. And with these fluorescent lights, you can change bulbs. So if you want like a different color of light that's coming out, you can do that as well. And they come in these big 6-foot or 4-foot boxes, and you just mount those suckers right up there for your trainer, and you'll have a nice light that takes up the full width of the shot. KinoFlow is very expensive. Jim Pero was looking at some of these yesterday, and he was like, "Hip, dude, like what the heck? These are like $2,500. There are cheaper brands out there that you can find. They might be more in like the $500 range, which is still expensive for a lot of Ys, but prioritize when you're buying. If it matters to you, then get it. Remember, this is a reiterate and make better and improve over time. LED panels are really cool because some of them are battery operated, a lot of them are. So you can plug in, but you can also go mobile. You could go out. You could use a LED panel in the middle of camp. You can change colors. You can dim the light. You can do all sorts of stuff. I used a lot of LEDs in Dayton when I worked there. I loved LEDs. And they're usually a little more affordable too. You can do some uplighting to kind of, people use these at events a lot, these par lights. You can put them on the floor and cause kind of a similar vibe with color if you want to do something like that. Soft boxes are an accessory that you can add to lights. You'd have to find the softbox for whatever light you're choosing, but it helps diffuse that light even more and soften it around your subject. And then I included a truss system here because if you are in a studio space where, or maybe it's not even a studio, maybe it's just a smaller room, and you don't have a ceiling that's solid, you can use a truss to mount lights. Okay, so I also have this idea that would be really cool, and I haven't done it yet, but like I use Philip Hue lights in my room, and there's a lot of options with these Hue lights, and their app allows you to sync to music, and it's really cool. Like they have all these entertainment options. And so if you're trying to do like a cool stylistic HIIT class, or you want to, maybe you use the space mostly for yoga classes, but you want to switch to a new look, this would be a cool thing to set up in your fitness space as well, so you can kind of change it up. So I haven't done it myself, but a lot of benefits to this idea. I'm going to give it a shot when we set up our studio. Okay, so I want to show an example. Here's Peloton. I don't have a Peloton bike because I'm not rich like the rest of you, but Peloton does these really dramatic, contrasted, intense setups. And so we're going to point out some of the lights they're using and what they're using them for. So if you look here, they're using those par lights that I mentioned to light the trainers. They have like 5 of them shining on that stage. They have these par lights that I think are actually mounted to the ceiling probably and aiming downwards, which is kind of cool. Most people put those on the ground, I feel like, but that's an interesting take on doing uplighting. It's more like downlighting, I guess. And then we also have these cool red accents with these strip lights that they've done with LEDs. And then what you see is this is the shot that comes out of it. So you still see the subject, you still see the trainer really clearly. So it gives you that feeling of being with others, but it's still intimate where you're working out and it's like your own personal thing. So it gives you a feeling and a vibe that something like Barre Blend does not. So this is by Beachbody, and this is almost like the complete opposite, right? And actually probably looks more like some of our fitness spaces. They have this really even, soft lighting. Everyone is lit evenly. Elise, who's the trainer, she does not look more lit than anyone else in the room. She's more in focus, but she's not more lit. They have, I'm guessing, fluorescent overhead lights, like we mentioned earlier. And I'm guessing they have like a row for each person, and there's a light that's focused on them. And I'm not seeing a reflection in the wood here. So I'm guessing that they have them angled kind of downwards at like a 45-degree angle on the subjects, and then a backlight to separate them. You'll also notice they have these practical lights that just add a little ambiance. If those weren't there, it would look like a very different space. It adds a little mood, which is fun. I like when people use practical lights to create a look. And then they have this, that's actually not just a painting, it's a screen or a projector. And I'm guessing it's like a backlit projector or something. And it has these interchangeable scenes and they change it based on the workout. It's kind of cool. And then what about this window? Nathan, you said no windows. What's going on here? I'm going to guess that, so for one, they have a wall there. That's like an ivy green wall that they're using. I'm guessing they're using some type of, we use these a lot outside on film sets. They're called 12 by 12s, and they just have diffusion on these huge 12-foot by 12-foot frames. Now, I don't think many people at the Y would have these. I think in YMCA 360, they do have a lot of windows, but they found a way to do it. I'm guessing they put diffusion on the windows. You can actually like get this clear stuff that diffuses the light and doesn't make it so bright and hot. So they probably do that. I can't speak for them. I would love to hear how they do it. It'd be fun to hear them talk about some of their shoots. But I'm guessing they put up something to soften the sunlight coming in. And then I kind of wanted to prove to myself that I was right about the fluorescence. Like I wasn't invited to the set of Barre Blend, but I was kind of just guessing based on what I know about light. And I found a screenshot that proved that I was not wrong. So do you see it? Not the woman who's trying to hug you like a crab, but this light up here is a fluorescent light that is backlighting one of their people. So amateur hour, they showed their light. You don't want to do that, but there it is. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the work. It's called The Work. It's like 6 weeks to work. The set here, I love this. The set cracks me up a little bit. I love it. It's very interesting. Has anyone seen The Work? Has anyone done this? And just the way they shoot it is really interesting. They put a mic on each person. So like each of the people in the class, they're like, they're just having a conversation and doing it. And it's really interesting. Like the trainer will be like, got to get to those thunder thighs, Karen. And she's like, you got it. And then like the guy's like, like thunder thigh. Like they're all talking. It's very fun. Very unique, something to try. But it's very stylistic. It's like this gritty concrete block parking garage locker room vibe, which I think is very interesting. And it does appeal to a certain demographic though, right? We've got these roped pillars, so I assume it's like a sailor's parking garage. It's very nautical, intense vibe going on. And a store is closed, it appears here. I don't know what we're in, but I like it. I don't know if it's like a morning workout at the Gulag, but it's got this intense vibe. It sets a mood, and it'll appeal to someone and not others. I mean, this appeals to men like me, the gritty alpha male types that you take one look at and this guy's been in some fights and broken some noses and knows his way around Cabela's or something. But that's a cool mood that they're going for, and it's like they have a demographic, right? They're going for that kind of like man's man. I feel like CrossFit, may they rest in peace. Vibe. So, okay, so tips and things to consider for lighting and building out a studio. One, just how important is this for you? Are you willing to sacrifice a part of your building or one of your rooms to do this? Obviously that it's going to be there, and I do think you should make a dedicated space, like something that maybe you can push stuff a little bit out of the way, but that's going to mostly be locked in. Because if you aren't going to make it easy for your trainers, if they have to set up for hours each time, and I'd be interested to hear how Houston's going to plan to do this down the line in our Q&A, like how is this going to look for them once we open up? Because you guys have a computer and a desk and all of that set up. You really want to try to make it as easy as possible. Really think about your internet speed. And I know we mentioned this before, but remember that it's best to live stream with an Ethernet wired setup if you're going through your desktop computer. You're going to struggle to stream to multiple Facebook pages and a YouTube page and social media if you just stream wirelessly. So make sure you have a solid upload speed. And I would suggest at minimum 10 megabytes at like 720p for your aspect ratio. That is even like, I feel bad almost saying that because you really want to get faster. You want to get fiber if you can at your branch. So AT&T Uverse, Verizon Fios, Google Fiber, see if it's available. It's a more dedicated speed. Coax cable has too much variation in the speed. It takes, and especially if you're going through Wi-Fi, it takes about 4 megabytes, I think, per second to stream to Facebook. And if you have 10 megabytes upload on your coax cable and you're doing Wi-Fi, you're going to have fluctuation. You'll drag your stream, and audio is going to get out of sync. It's going to look kind of bad. It's not going to look great. So I would suggest, if you could, ideally get an upload speed of 50 meg per second. The last thing you want is a pixelated experience, especially if thank you OpenY for making this paid paywall that we're going towards. But if we're going that direction, we want it to be a good experience for our members. Call your internet service provider if you don't have that. They don't always list upload speeds on the website, so you might have to talk to a manager. So that's the manager haircut. So I need to speak with a manager, please. Some of the customer service reps don't really know what upload speed is, so you might need to actually get a hold of someone who has more of an idea of what they're talking about. Okay, so also, how much are you going to be doing in this studio space? Are you going to be shooting meditation videos only or cardio videos only? Or are you going to do both? What about cooking videos? Are you going to read books for kids, arts and crafts? Like, what are you doing in the space? Plan it out, have all the gear where you can get to it easily. I would say in general, multi-use studios are not ideal, like I mentioned before. The preference would be to have different studio setups for different things. I know this isn't the Warner Brothers parking lot at your branch, so you can't just go to different studios and, oh, it's our cooking channel. It doesn't always work that way, but as much as you can, try to keep it simple in that space. Because live streaming is all about speed and ease of use. So avoid too many uses for that studio space. The most important thing is getting the content out, and having your trainers prep for an hour or two would be rough. So you'll get less content created. And then lastly, I would really think about, like, what's your ceiling situation? So when you're looking at your ceiling, what's the ceiling height? Is it a drop ceiling, a solid ceiling? If your ceiling's too low, you're going to struggle to get lights that can go high enough to light people well. And if you have like a drop ceiling, you're not going to be able to mount very well into the ceiling itself. You want to have a solid ceiling to put in some of those lights if you're going to go that route. You can remove a tile and see if there's a solid ceiling above a drop ceiling. There's this thing called a Varipole that is really cool. If you don't want to drill into your ceiling or anything with mounting lights, these poles, you can mount like 2 cameras, 3 lights, a microphone, a monitor, all on one pole. They're just about $114 for 2 on Amazon. So basically all you do is you unlock it, you push it up to the ceiling, you slide it up, and then you have this little lever and you just tighten it, and it's like tension between the ceiling and the floor, and it's like super tight, and it works really well. It's a great space saver if you don't want tripods and cords and everything stringing across a room. So take a look at that. And here's a setup that someone did with one of these. So you get a sense of like, wow, look at this robot that is set up for live streaming. It's pretty cool though. They have a downward camera that's looking, they're probably doing some type of tutorial video where they're showing like drawing or something, maybe looking at products. It looks like it's in a kid's nursery. So I don't know exactly what they're doing. Maybe playing with sand. I don't know. People do weird videos, but that's a really cool tool to have. So I just gave you the barrage of the lighting and the studios. I want to make sure we leave a lot of space to talk. I hope a lot of space. Do I have a lot of space? We want to talk about anything you guys want to ask about. So Mike, please come forward to the metaphorical stage here and join me. And yeah, anyone have any questions?
If you're going super low budget and starting, starting with a iPhone, because we are looking to actually create a virtual branch by the fall, so we don't want to invest in tons of equipment while we're figuring that out. We want to get started off the bat, but that's going to take probably 3 months. We're hoping to do that September, October. Until then, we just want an option. So we're going with tripods and cell phones. I was going to just get the ring lights to go on top of the cell phone. Is that a good option for now?
I think that can work. I think with ring lights, you got to make sure that it can get bright enough, because if your trainer's going to be farther away from the camera, like ring lights are really ideal for shots like this, where like I'm sitting close to the ring light, because it's a soft light. It's not going to cast very far. It's not going to light up a scene. If you're going to get a ring light, I'd get a very big one, and I'd make it so that you can like mount it up over top of them, because sometimes it'll cast a weird reflection in like glasses and stuff. It'll look better overhead, and bright and large. So
The
I
rooms
almost
are super bright but very yellow. So that's kind of what I'm trying to account for.
they're very yellow. The rooms are like the paint
Yeah.
is yellow, or like it's like a warm white balance.
The lighting
Okay.
is just very yellow.
The lighting is very yellow. So,
I don't
and
know
yeah, and
there's
if
a
you're shooting,
counterbalance.
so if you're shooting on a cell phone, do you have big windows in there too?
A lot of them do, not all of them.
Okay, well, the key would be to like cut out those windows, and then your camera's because what's gonna happen to a phone is it's just doing automatic white balance, which I didn't talk a lot about white balance at all today. That outside color temperature mixing with your color temperature inside is going to mix, and it makes it really ugly. So you either want to say, I'm going to take the daylight and that's what we're going to have, or we're going to shut off the lights, or we're going to keep the lights on and shut off the windows. Does that make sense? So that way it's going to be at least a unified color temperature, and it'll look a lot better. I would actually consider maybe getting an LED light. That's one of the larger ones. And then finding a way to block off those windows if you're going to get some light, because it's a little pricier, but you'll be able to get one. You could get a good one for like $300, $400, a good LED. Still expensive, but better than nothing.
But could we be reused in the virtual studio too when you get that ready to go? Yes. Seems like that's the right thing to do, is to purchase whatever you can carry over.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Totally. I don't know if that was helpful, but it
was very.
Okay, cool. There were some questions on other calls too, and Amber, I don't know if you have that list up. I didn't bring it with me, but there were questions about, I think, licensing and.
Well, I have one question, because I know a lot of Ys are shooting outdoors, or not shooting outdoors, programming outdoors in order to help with physical distancing for group exercise classes. What does somebody do then if they've got 10 people, let's say, in a parking lot?
Yeah, that's super interesting. So, wait, when you mean like 10 people who are like involved, like are doing it with the class?
Or doing the class, yeah. So there's an instructor, and the class is taking place in the parking lot, or on the grass or the lawn, and they want to stream it. So then what would they do? Just go with the natural light?
Yeah, I think you're kind of stuck at that point. Like I wouldn't expect anyone to actually invest in like a 12 by 12 and like set it up and like put sandbags all over it and mount it. Like I do think the better you can be in like a shaded space, the prettier it's going to look. So if you have like trees overcasting or shadows being done, that lighting, like photographers' nightmares at weddings are really sunny days. It just makes people so shadowed, and it's not a good look. It looks kind of unprofessional. The best days are overcast days for photographers. When it's a cloudy day with no rain, oh, that's a dream, because you're getting this, the earth is making diffusion for you. It's diffusing the light and making it wrap around people in a nice way. So I think if you're outside, which is a cool look, make sure you're in a shaded space if you can. Mike, would you add anything to that?
No, nothing more. You can't control the sun, right? So if you're outside, you're at the mercy of the
days. Right.
Hip, I looked at the questions from last week, or I guess it was last week. And I think it would probably be best, because they are all a topic unto themselves, to hold and do those in the batch up. So in these last couple of minutes, if nobody has any questions, how about if you just cover some of the resources that are already available, including maybe what was talked about early on with John and Mike in Houston, and then what we might be covering the next time.
Yeah,
so I know you made some really cool stuff.
Yeah, well, and Mike and Jim yesterday, drop of a hat, I was like, hey, do you guys have your countdown timers? And they gave me project files and graphics and all sorts of things that people can use to make their own countdown timers and add their own effects. And then I actually built 3 more countdown timers. So we'll have a Dropbox link for everyone to access those countdown timers as they're doing their studio setups, because countdown timers are great. They add 10 minutes to your your session, and people max out in Google Analytics. The viewership maxes at 18 minutes. That's like the general rule of thumb. So countdown timers just get you there quicker, and it builds that anticipation. We also have given that little infographic that gives sort of a basic setup on how you can start setting up your studios, and if you want to start with a camera, and it gives some resources on there to gear. We also have the gear guide, which was created between me and Jim, and of course stealing from Houston from what they had done originally. And we just built like 3 options for everything: computers, cameras, microphones, lights. We put them all there, and links directly to the product, capture cards. So that's another great resource. And then of course, my YouTube video that teaches you how to connect to all of your Facebook pages and stream at the same time without having a poor social media specialist click share to each page. And if you have a lot of pages, that would be a huge nightmare. So next time, there's so much to talk about. I am hoping the next time I'm sharing with you the studio I've made, and that you can see in real time what that looks like. Yeah, the YouTube video, we posted it in Slack a bit back. Was it last week that we just did that presentation?
We did, yeah.
I shot it at 11 o'clock at night, and it just was a little walkthrough. I show you my screen and what I'm doing to go to both Restream and to the Facebook Live API at the same time. Restream hits like your LinkedIn lives, your Instagram lives, whatever lives, your Twitches, YouTube. And then your Facebook API will allow you to cross post between all of your pages. So very cool stuff there. And so we can relink it when we do this presentation.
Awesome. Notes. What I was just thinking about is perhaps, I know you have a Dropbox, you'll create a Dropbox file that we can share for everybody that is not, anyone who is not on our message board or on our OpenY Slack channel. Join us there. You can email me direct. You should all have my email as a result of the forward I sent for this invite. Let me know and we'll get you there, because that's where Hip is sharing a lot of things. It's also a great place to ask questions about anything related to websites, the OpenY platform, that sort of thing. And then I'm thinking, Hip, that perhaps we can just put together a quick blog post to put this all together. Like, here's the live streaming resources we have so far at the Y, and we'll get that out to y'all. We're gonna put that in an email in July. So again, if you aren't on our list, let me know as well so I can get you added. Anything else, Hip?
Yeah, I just kind of want to like go back to the beginning that we said. Strive for connection and not perfection. Remember that you're just building up over time. You don't have to get it all in one day. Like, none of this is supposed to be like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing this right now, and so therefore I'm bad at live streaming and shouldn't do it. That's not the case. Just take what you have. Start with simple stuff. Upgrade your audio for like $100. That's a great place to start. And you will be doing more than 90% of the people on the internet. So, and remember, the point of this too is eventually to build a great experience so that people will want to pay for this. You really could be adding a revenue stream to your Y. It's yet to be seen. We're building the new future. So that's all I want to finish with this series right now.
Thank you so much, Hip, and thanks as always for sharing your expertise. There were a few questions. Kat, I just popped that YouTube link into the chat. Beth,
thank you.
You can hear, you will hear my weeping when I tell you that we do not have the recording from last week. Hip and I discovered that early this week.
And I'm cracking up.
I know. Sam was like, where's the video? I'm like, oh, we didn't record it. And as some of you,
it was a good one too, guys. It's kind of sad we lost it.
Losing, I don't know, something really terrible. I didn't know if I should puke or cry, to be honest.
It was so great. Yeah.
It was an emotional day. We started at the same time that the George Floyd Memorial started, and there was weird. Yeah, it was a weird day. Very, very distracting in general. And so we didn't get that. But Beth, I promise that when we do the meetup in July, which will feature Hip and Jim Pero and Mike Hodge again, we will record it and we'll kind of hit on everything that we've covered in the 3 live streaming videos. So we'll get you, I promise.
I just added that Dropbox link.
And Sam wants to chat with you, Hip, afterwards if you have 5 minutes about mics. And anybody else is welcome to join as well.
Very nice. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to me talk for a long time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing, Hip. All
Thanks,
right, Sam, it's up to you. Mike's.
Yeah. What do we got here, Sam?
Okay, so I am still struggling with what to do about audio using iPhones and tripods. Again, it's still a low budget, but I want it to be better. Yeah. What are you holding? A lapel mic, and I can't see.
So this is the same system. It's called the Saramonic Blink 500. This plugs straight into your iPhone. Goes in the bottom. This is your transmitter. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You take this mic over here. Actually, you don't even technically need the lav. You could just clip it here. This looks kind of not as good, but you put it in a pocket. You just put this little lav mic. It comes with a lav mic. You just clip it to the top. And this is transmitting to the receiver. And if you're doing Facebook Live,
one of those, and then you can buy a bunch of cheap lav plugins.
You just buy this system, and it works. Like you go through your phone for this. Now, the downside is you can't put it into OBS later.
That's fine, but how many? Yeah. So can you buy multiple actual microphones to use? So can one branch could have multiple people?
Correct. Yeah, you could buy multiple ones. Now, are you saying like at the same time, like all of you in the same shot?
No.
Okay. Because yes, you can buy multiple ones and have them all like, I can't remember how much these are. They're cheaper than, I think they're like 180 maybe. So still some money, but you just, the audio, it then takes over the audio on your phone. And so when you're on mobile streaming, it'll just pick this up as the audio source. And they work really well. They're super simple, plug in and play. They've got like some pairing things on the side, but also volume to pick you up more. So if you're kind of quiet, you just turn it up a little more and it'll draw more audio. Kind of like at the beginning when you guys could hardly hear me, I just tuned up the gain so you could hear me come in more. So yeah, they're great. They're rechargeable batteries.
Super so two simple. Short questions about that. One is, do you need a special, because I know iPhone is super weird about recording with an external microphone on its native platform. Do you need to download the, I have it, I forget what it's called, the $15 movie, whatever, filmer? Like, will it work?
No,
okay.
you can totally have it work just on its own. Sometimes I've had some trainers, like if their technology is too old, it struggles. So, but I've seen iPhone like 7 work. So iPhone 7 and above. Older iPads sometimes have struggled. You do have to sometimes look at your USB settings, because iPhone does sometimes do this thing where it's like, this is not an Apple device, therefore it is evil and bad. And so you have to tell your phone, no, it's okay. I'm good with whatever I'm putting there. So that's just something to look out for, and it's in your settings. It's like USB section. Okay. So just look there.
And then the other question was, you won't hear any music if it's in the background, correct?
Okay, so a note on that, and that is sort of a downside. You won't hear it as well. You can because it's very directional, right? So it'll be picking up right up here in this area. And if your audio is on the ground somewhere, it's intended to not pick up audio from outside. So you would need to get audio that's like closer to your mic to get anything, and maybe crank it up louder than you think you should. I would run a few tests and see in your space, like, okay, if we put it here, will it pick it up just minimally enough? And because it might sound really loud to you as a trainer in there, you'll be like, wow, this is super loud, but the audience isn't going to hear it as much as you are. So you could do, it's not the best setup for that, right? That's why it's great to eventually get to OBS or Ecamm. I don't know if you're a Mac person, Sam. I feel like you could be.
I am, but nobody else in my association is. In fact, I'm not even allowed to have a Mac in my association. I use my personal one.
Like oh man, Ecamm. I'm going to actually just real quick, just show you Ecamm because it looks so sweet. And it's really easy to use. So here's Ecamm. Can you see it? It's kind of small. So like I actually had this ready for an example if anyone wanted it. I can make little scenes really easily. I imported videos, and like I can be like, all right, here's my timer, and it has music attached to it. I hit Command 2, it goes to my intro, Morning Rants with Nathan. That's my TV show. Command 3, we're back to my camera.
Nice.
It's really simple to use. You drag and drop stuff. You add titles here. OBS is a little scary, but this just makes everything so simple. You can pick your stream size and settings really quickly. You can have your comments running up here. I love Ecamm for Mac. I wish it was like the standard, but it's not. And you can see up here, I brought this up actually so you could see like, oh, here's my Scarlett mic. I have my microphone turned off. It automatically just knows sources that I'm going to want to do. So if I have sound effects, if I want to be, I don't know if you've seen Parks and Rec, and the douche does the sound effects all the time. Have you seen Parks and Rec? Well, this is wasted. Okay. You can have your system audio, and that's where you would bring in your music if you're going through that setup.
Okay.
So it's a cool little software and worth taking a look at if you're ever upgrading. But sound does suffer if you go through phone.
I know that.
I know.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd love to have like a camera on a rodeo and just whatever, but no,
I know.
You'll get there.
You will. Yeah, you will.
Hopefully.
Well, right. The thing, you were on the first one with Houston. I just like Mike was like, this was day 1 and this was day 3 and this was week 3. Like the growth and professionalism was almost exponential.
It was.
I thought.
Yeah, no, and I think that associations are starting to realize the importance.
I do think a year from now we're going to be like, oh wow, like this is. I think we're going to get a lot more people watching these talks actually at some point. So hi, people of the future who are going to be watching some of this. I do think they're going to want to reference, because it feels like vanity right now. We're used to live streaming and social media being a vanity tools to some degree, right? Like, oh, great, you have a lot of likes on your Facebook page. Who cares? But now we're seeing a real content marketing strategy attached to this, where people are actually making revenue off of streaming, which is insane. So
yeah, we surveyed our members and asked some questions about that and got some interesting responses.
I'd like to hear that.
I would too, actually, or share if you don't mind sharing those, Sam. That would be really fascinating.
For sure.
Well, and like with the insurance situation, we're getting all these people who are technically shut-ins who were never a part of they never could get into the Y before. So now we're getting revenue from that whole pocket of seniors that didn't have a chance to get in before. So it does open up a lot of doors. And seniors are a big market for us. So they're not scared of this technology. They're fine with using it.
Yeah, I also think that there's a huge market for people who live in immunocompromised households, so
yes.
There are going to be a lot of members who are not able to come back right away.
Yes.
Whether they can't because of that or they're just not comfortable in general. So I think that would be helpful. Sam, I know you're going to share some survey data. I don't want to forget to ask. Hip, could you pop the iPhone mic link? Could you pop a link into the chat so that everybody's got it?
I don't think I can share. I don't think I could share a PDF, but I will send it to you as an email, Amber, and you could share it with Hip.
Okay. And I don't know if anybody else is interested, I can just raise your hand or pop your yes into chat, and I'll make sure that you get it. Because I think, Beth. Okay, Beth, Ryan. Yep, got it.
It looks like those mics are $219. So, whoops. But hopefully that isn't gonna kill anyone. Improving your sound is gonna do so much. I mean, it really does. People will be like, "Wow, this
like
is
that muffled fan that we have in the background now." Spring, on it.
But from my understanding, you could buy that $219 thing, but then just buy like $10 labs that plug into it from Amazon, right?
Correct. But you would need it if you're gonna have like multiple. Yes, you're right. You could give like one lav to each trainer, and they share that same receiver, right? Or the transmitter and the receiver. You might, if you wanted to get like 3 of them, so you could share between branches or something or whatever. If you have hubs where people are doing it, that could work too.
That's what it would be.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure.
So the receiver would belong to a device that is streaming all classes, but each instructor would have the part to talk into, which we already have for our other microphones, so it's not even a problem.
I bet a lot of people have lavs, and you can, I think, get a version without a lav that might be cheaper.
No, I like the lavs, and I think people are used to them, especially Quebec instructors.
I think so too, and that thing looks a little clunky at the top. I mean, not that people are going to be that judgmental of it, but it's a little much. Now, there is on that guide another mic that's similar but can actually connect. Let me give a link.
The gear guide, Hip?
In the gear guide, yeah. And this is a similar option, and it's actually a little cheaper. And you can actually use this with OBS down the line. So once you're getting comfortable, that's something that it has its own little mixer, and you can plug into like your headphone jack, and it counts as a source in OBS. That's pretty great. And then I should put these online somewhere. I just got these. If your trainer is...
Did you add them to the gear guide?
I need to add them to the gear guide. The gear, how many times can I say gear guide? These are really cool because these are like $10 headphones that a problem we've seen with our trainers is they're like, great, the music is playing on my computer and it's going through OBS really well. Sweet. I can't hear it. And I'm moving and shaking and I feel really stupid. Well, they can put this in and be listening into music as well at the same time as the viewers. It might not be like 100%. You could connect it technically with some other systems, which I need to add to the gear guide. So you have two sources. So you're actually getting a source feed back to you from the computer, or you could just have that similar playlist up. So you're kind of with what people are doing. But these hide really well. They wrap around your ear, and you're getting a little feed, and you can strap it behind your head so that you just don't see it. So these are nice.
Hip, I think that's another topic for the next session is how to make your trainers' lives better with this whole live streaming thing. I mean, that's a whole nother body of work because this is not comfortable for everybody, and I can't imagine trying to teach a class without hearing what my people are hearing. That would be so hard.
And I worked in a news studio. Like I worked at one of our local TV stations for 2.5 years, and I still have all these questions. So I probably know a lot more than a lot of other people, and I still don't know.
You were at a broadcasting center. Yeah, it's confusing.
I was a web producer.
Wow, there you go. Well, it's complicated. Now, the Dayton Y, which I used to work at, they did something really interesting with the live stream, and I posted it to my page. They did a camp live stream. They went to camp, and they did like a variety show for like 45 minutes. And they had like pretty decent audio. They like had mics mounted that were like boom mics, and it was all in the... I love that your cat is like attacking you, Ryan. It is so great.
It is making me so...
I love it so much. Yeah.
By the way, Beth, Ryan, you guys should talk too. I feel like I'm totally dominating.
Oh, I'm
dominating.
I'm listening very carefully. I was actually drawing up one of our studios that I was looking at converting, and I get this furry monster who keeps like tapping my shoulder, and I'm like, okay, cat.
Yeah.
Touche.
Taking notes, very good notes right now.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. But you should have a cat in your studio. I think that should be someone's like thing. Like, there's just a cat like while you're yoga stretching.
Awesome. Yeah. What Ys are you guys?
YMCA Greater Cleveland.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
Cleveland?
nice. Cleveland, sweet.
Yeah, I'm in New Jersey.
Oh, cool.
Very,
we have
very
a ton
cool.
of branches, and I'm gonna probably take one of the spaces. I don't have my official job title updated yet. They're gonna make me creative director, hopefully, once this whole COVID thing's done. So I was like, I'm gonna seize one of the branches studios from them. It's my first.
Dude, that's awesome. Keep us updated on that. Like, if anyone builds a studio, share pictures of your setup and what you're doing, because that is really new territory. And like, we haven't set it up yet. I'm hoping to take a trip once this all dies down to Minneapolis, but it's a new ground for us. I'm excited to see how everyone sets up their spaces.
I would love to get staff.
One of the things that we talked about with Jim Pero is maybe if Brandywine Studio is set up by the July meetup, we could have him go in and show us how they did it.
Yeah.
Do you think, Hip? Would he be ready? Since he's buying lighting and stuff?
I don't know. I don't know. He's really into lighting right now. And I sent him my stuff and he was like, dude, this is so expensive. Like, what is your problem? You don't need to get the $2,500 lights. You can actually get lights at Lowe's that look pretty good. Like $20. And if you
or you can have a torch here like I do shooting right into my face. Did you notice that, Hip? My lighting has gotten so much better.
I actually did notice.
No,
I really did. I was like, she's got a key light. She's kind of got a key light on her face. But yeah, you can get wax paper for diffusion. Like, I mean, get wax paper, put it on a floodlight from Lowe's, use some little clothespins. There you go. Boom, baby. You got yourself a little diffused light, and you didn't have to spend $2,500. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it'll work.
It'll seem really easy by this time next year.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna be like, we talked about that in like sessions, and like people didn't know.
Yeah. We did have a light studio. Yeah.
All right, I gotta hop, guys. Thanks for everything.
Yeah,
Thank
see you, Sam.
Okay, we're gonna take this as the cue that we're gonna go.
Yeah, when Sam's gone, it's over.
Game's over. The mustard's off the dog.
It's over.
Yes.
Thanks you guys for hanging out. I will. I'll see you on the internet, I'm sure.
Yep. All right. Take care, guys.
Bye.